Hi, I'm Natalie Hoffman with FlyingFreeNow.com. I work with women of faith in emotionally and spiritually abusive relationships. But how do you know if that's what you're dealing with in your marriage? I'd like to share some of the most common patterns of behavior present in a relationship where one person has emotional or spiritual power over the other person. The very definition of abuse is power and control of one person over another. You may be thinking your marriage is just confusing and painful, but I'd like you to consider the possibility that your marriage may actually fall into the category of abuse. So let's look at some common abusive behavior patterns right now. And if you want to grab a pen and paper to write down yes or no to these 30 questions, that will help you to see things more clearly. Please note, though, before we begin, that everyone displays poor behavior now and then. You may hear some of these patterns and think, I've done that. But we're not talking about the kind of behavior that happens when we've had a bad day and we feel out of sorts. And we're not talking about reactions to abusive behavior. We are talking about chronic behavior patterns where the person refuses to take responsibility for those patterns of behavior. The fact that you might worry about whether or not you have done any of these things on occasion shows that you are a person who cares and takes responsibility for your own behavior. An abusive individual is unable to do that. So, do you have your pen and paper? Here we go. Number one, is your partner dishonest? Does he leave out information with the intent to mislead or hide something from you? Does he say things happened that didn't? Likewise, does he say things didn't happen that did? Number two, does he say he will do something, but he doesn't always follow through on those commitments? Number three, does he inflate his own good deeds while minimizing your efforts? Does he point out to you what he's done and expect praise for normal adult responsibilities? Number four, does he criticize your efforts and shame you for your preferences? Number five, does he turn a discussion into an argument and blame you for intentionally starting that argument? Number six, does he ignore your efforts to connect? Does he delay answering emails or texts or phone calls? Does he avoid eye contact when you are talking to him? Does he sigh or scoff and use facial and body language that indicates his disinterest and annoyance toward you? Number seven, does he blame you for the things he himself needs to take responsibility for? Are you his scapegoat? Number eight, does he put his own interests above yours? Number nine, does he interpret the slightest disagreement with his decisions, opinions, or desires to be disrespectful on your part? Does he claim that because you don't respect him by agreeing with him, that you are failing as a wife? Does he demand respect regardless of his behavior? Number 10, is he critical of your interests, hobbies, choice of clothing, personal style, friendships, fears, hopes, and dreams? Number 11, is he sullen when you are happy? And alternatively, is he happy-go-lucky when you are suffering in some way? Number 12, is he unavailable when you need him most, such as during pregnancy, or following the birth of a baby, or the death of a family member or friend? Number 13, is he uninvolved in the daily emotional burden of raising the family and running the household? Does he show up only when he feels like it, or when it suits his timetable or agenda, or when someone from the outside is observing him? Number 14, does he project his own poor attitudes and behavior onto you, accusing you of feeling and doing the very things that he himself feels and does? Number 15, does he tell you what you are thinking? Does he presume to interpret your heart and motives? Does he maintain that his accusations of you are true, regardless of what you've explained? Number 16, does he use you in bed, meeting his own needs while disregarding yours? Has he ever raped you, making you have sex when you didn't want to? Number 17, does he lay the blame for the marriage problems on your shoulders? Is he unable to take responsibility for his behavior? Is he offended when you give him feedback about those behaviors? Number 18, does he create an environment in which he does everything right while you do very little right? Does he withhold praise and encouragement and instead belittle you and make you feel small and insignificant? Number 19, does he control the money or other assets? Number 20, does he control what you do with your time? Does he demand your time and attention when you are giving it to others, even in serious times like family deaths? Does he attempt to isolate you? Number 21, does he control other aspects of your lives together without regard to your input, needs, or desires? Some examples might be how you decorate the home, what food you eat, how many children you have, your child rearing policies, and so on. Number 22, does he disrespect your boundaries? Are you allowed to say stop or no without suffering emotional and verbal consequences? Number 23, does he sabotage your emotions before bed, an important commitment with others, or a special event? Does he shame you or try to upset you in public? Number 24, does he withhold communication and affection in order to control your emotions and decisions? Does he withdraw for hours or days, punishing you with a silent treatment? Number 25, does he refuse to take responsibility for his actions and attitudes in your relationship by blame shifting, denying, justifying, and minimizing his behaviors? Number 26, does he sweep conflict under the rug, never to be resolved? Number 27, does he punish you later for something he's agreed about or praised you about earlier? Does he frequently change his positive judgments of you into negative ones later on? Number 28, has he made it clear to you that certain topics are off limits? Number 29, does he accuse you of trying to control him? Does he accuse you of having the motives or behavior patterns that he does? And number 30, is trying to solve your partner's problems and manage his emotions all you can think about? Do these problems steal your attention from everything and everyone, including God, so that your focus is constantly on them? Is solving the confusion in your marriage the center of your painful world? If you stood up to your partner in any way, did your partner use any of these verbal tactics to shut you down? Accuse you of something to get the focus off of his behavior? Blame you for his behavior? Block the discussion? Withhold information to keep you in the dark? Correct the things you say in order to create confusion and doubt? Discount your credibility? Scoff at your concerns? Judge and criticize you? Threaten you? Call you names? Yell at you? Intimidate you? Minimize the impact of his behavior? Tell you that you're making a mountain out of a molehill? Accuse you of not trusting God? Deny his behavior? Justify his behavior? When a woman is experiencing these kinds of behaviors over a period of many years, her emotional, physical, and spiritual well-being will begin to break down. There are two reasons these behaviors are destructive. One reason is that they are connected to positive behaviors. The husband isn't always being disrespectful, neglectful, or unloving. Sometimes he is amazing. Sometimes he is attentive and kind. This creates extreme cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance occurs whenever there are two opposite realities side by side. In this instance, we have an intimate partner who is sometimes wonderful and sometimes cruel. Our brains can't figure that out. And if this crazy making occurs over a long period of time, it sets up a stress and trauma response that can cause symptoms of complex post-traumatic stress disorder. The other reason these behaviors are destructive is because they are hidden. Those outside of the relationship can't see what's happening, nor do they understand, even when the target of these behaviors tries to explain them. This leaves the target feeling alone, trapped, crazy, terrified, despairing, helpless, worthless, incapable, out of control, shameful, guilty, unlovable, and empty. The fact is, what's happening in your life and your marriage is a thing. It has a name, and it is a problem that runs rampant in the conservative Christian church. It's called emotional abuse. If you think you may be in an emotionally abusive relationship, please click the Learn More button on this video because your life is about to change.